Silivri, in fact, is the largest prison in Europe, and it's full of people the Turkish government wants to silence. Journalists, politicians, human rights defenders, or even students. Thousands are held there, sometimes for the wrong sentence in a newspaper, sometimes for a thought on social media, or for daring to run for president against Erdogan. This installation, Silivri, Prison of Thought, was created to remind us of this reality. It was initiated by my dear colleague Can Dündar, once imprisoned himself in Silivri. And together with the Maxim Gorki Theater, they reconstructed Can's own cell and first showed it 4 years ago. But then, as you know, unfortunately, things in Turkey have only grown darker. The most prominent example is Ekrem İmamoğlu. The mayor of Istanbul has now spent almost 6 months in Silivri, in a cell just like this one. And showing it here today at the heart of the city sends a strong signal from Berlin, a strong signal of solidarity from Berlin to its partner city, Istanbul. And for supporting that, for supporting this voice, we thank the governing mayor of Berlin. Please welcome Kai Wegner.
Lieber Can Dündar, lieber Cem Özdemir, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, erst im letzten Jahr haben Ekrem İmamoğlu, mein Freund Ekrem, und ich uns zweimal in Berlin getroffen. Er hat mich hier im Roten Rathaus besucht und ein zweites Mal haben wir uns in unserem Berliner Abgeordnetenhaus getroffen. Das Ganze, meine Damen und Herren, ist noch kein Jahr her. Das war erst im November 2024.
Can Dündar, Cem Özdemir, ladies and gentlemen. It was only 1 year ago that Ekrem İmamoğlu, my friend Ekrem, and I met here in Berlin. We met twice. He visited me at the Red Town Hall here, and for a second time we met at the Berlin House of Representatives. Imagine, not even a year. It was in November 2024.
Ich war entsetzt, ich war schockiert, als der demokratisch gewählte Bürgermeister, ja als mein Freund Ekrem, am 19. März abgesetzt und verhaftet wurde. Es ist bestürzend, dass wir jetzt hier stehen, gemeinsam hier stehen, während mein Freund und Kollege Ekrem in Haft sitzt. Meine Damen und Herren, für mich als regierender Bürgermeister von Berlin ist es kaum vorstellbar, nicht mehr das Rathaus betreten zu dürfen. Es ist für mich kaum vorstellbar, nicht mehr meinen Dienstpflichten gegenüber den Bürgerinnen und Bürgern erfüllen zu können.
I was shocked, ladies and gentlemen, when the democratically elected mayor, my friend Ekrem, was arrested and removed from office on March 19th of this year. I find it deeply troubling to be standing here today with you while my friend is held in prison. For me, as governing mayor of the city of Berlin, it is hardly conceivable that I wouldn't be able to enter my own town hall, that I wouldn't be able to attend to the duties of the people of Berlin.
Istanbul und Berlin sind seit 1989 durch eine Städtepartnerschaft verbunden. Das ist eine lebendige Städtepartnerschaft und Ich sage Ihnen, mir ist diese Städtepartnerschaft extrem wichtig. Und ich wollte so gerne nach Istanbul fahren, Kontakte aufnehmen, neue Freundschaften schließen. Aber wir haben uns entschieden, auch als klares Zeichen, dass der regierende Bürgermeister in dieser Zeit nicht in diese Partnerstadt fährt. Ich bedauere dies außerordentlich. Aber ich sage Ihnen auch, das, was die türkische Regierung gerade treibt, führt zu einer schweren Belastung für die Städtepartnerschaft, aber auch für die deutsch-türkischen Beziehungen. Und ich glaube, wir brauchen starke deutsch-türkische Beziehungen, denn Deutschland braucht die Türkei und die Türkei braucht Deutschland. Und hier sollten wir aufeinander hören, aufeinander zugehen und nicht durch die Inhaftierung von unbeliebten Personen, nicht durch diese Inhaftierung dieses wichtige Verhältnis zwischen unseren Ländern beschädigen.
Istanbul and Berlin have been partner cities since 1989. It is a city partnership that is active and vibrant. And let me tell you, it is a city partnership that is of great importance for me as the governing mayor of Berlin. I wanted to travel to Istanbul, to our partner city, to meet people there, to make new contacts, but I decided not to. And I think this sends a strong message not to travel to Istanbul. I regret this decision deeply, that I had to take it, but I tell you that in this decision, it wasn't possible. What the Turkish government is doing has a detrimental effect, not only on our city partnership, but on the relations between Turkey and Germany. Germany needs Turkey, and Turkey needs Germany. So we should reach out to one another. We should listen to one another and not let the many incarcerations that are happening damage our relations.
Auch mehrere Berliner Bezirke haben eine Städtepartnerschaft mit Istanbuler Bezirken oder mit türkischen Städten. So ist es, liebe Stefanie Remlinger, ist die Bezirksbürgermeisterin aus Berlin-Mitte, und Mitte ist verbunden mit dem Istanbuler Bezirk Beyoğlu durch eine Partnerschaft verbunden. Auch der Bürgermeister von Beyoğlu, Inan Günay, wurde vor einigen Wochen verhaftet. Auch der Bezirk Charlottenburg-Wilmersdorf, liebe Kirstin Bauch, Bezirksbürgermeisterin aus Charlottenburg-Wilmersdorf, ist mit Şişli in der Provinz Istanbul durch eine Partnerschaft verbunden. Auch der dortige Bürgermeister Resul Şahan wurde verhaftet. Und meine Damen und Herren, deswegen ist es nur richtig, dass in Berlin der Rat der Bürgermeister, alle 12 Bezirksbürgermeisterinnen und Bezirksbürgermeister, die Inhaftierung von Ekrem İmamoğlu und allen anderen öffentlich verurteilt hat. Und das Berliner Abgeordnetenhaus hat ohne Gegenstimmen einen Antrag zur Solidarität mit den demokratischen Kräften in unserer Partnerstadt Istanbul aufgerufen und diese Erklärung beschlossen.
There are many boroughs in Berlin that have partnerships with cities in Turkey and districts of Istanbul. Stefanie Remlinger, who's here today, the borough of Berlin-Mitte, is partnered with Beyoğlu, a district of Istanbul. The district mayor, Inan Günay, was arrested as well a few weeks ago. Charlottenburg-Wilmersdorf in Berlin, another borough, is paired with Şişli. And the Şişli mayor, Mr. Şahan, was arrested as well. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is of utmost importance that we in Berlin, as the Council of Mayors, which means all the 12 borough mayors, have publicly condemned the arrest not only of Ekrem İmamoğlu, but all of the people that were arrested for these grounds. And also, the Berlin House of Representatives adopted unanimously a motion in solidarity with the democratic forces in Istanbul, our partner city.
Meine Damen und Herren, Ekrem wird in der Türkei im Gefängnis in Silivri gefangen gehalten. Und wir sehen sehr eindrucksvoll, wie er derzeit leben muss, in totaler Isolation. Im selben Gefängnis waren auch schon Berliner aus politischen Gründen inhaftiert. Darunter der Berliner Menschenrechtler Peter Steutner wegen angeblicher Unterstützung einer Terrororganisation. Und der Berliner Journalist Denis Giselle wegen angeblicher Terrorpropaganda. Auch Sie, lieber Can Dündar, waren im selben Gefängnis, vorgeblich wegen Terrorunterstützung. Sie alle mussten schon in Zellen dieses Gefängnisses leben. Und das ist sehr berührend, sehr bewegend, als ich in diesem Gefängnis stand, zu sehen, wie mein Freund Ekrem zurzeit leben muss.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ekrem İmamoğlu is being held in Turkey in prison in Silivri. I think it was very impressive for me to see how he is being held and under which conditions he has to live there in full isolation. It is the very same prison that already held many other Berliners as well for political reasons. For instance, Peter Steutner for alleged support of a terrorist organization, or the Berlin journalist Denis Yücel, who was held for alleged terrorist propaganda. And you too, Can Dündar, you were held in the same prison for allegedly assisting terrorism. All of you had to live in these very cells. And I think it was very moving for me when I stood there, when I visited this cell, to see how my friend Ekrem has to live at this very moment.
Berlin hat eine lange Freiheitsgeschichte. Ja, Berlin ist die Stadt der Freiheit. Und deshalb werden wir von diesem Jahr jährlich eine Berliner Freiheitswoche ausrichten, die Berlin Freedom Week. Die erste Berliner Freiheitswoche wird schon bald im November hier in Berlin stattfinden. Mit den vielen Veranstaltungen wollen wir unsere Solidarität mit Freiheitsbewegungen weltweit zum Ausdruck bringen. In diesem Jahr wird in Verbindung mit unserer Freiheitswoche auch der World Liberty Congress in Berlin tagen. Und dazu werden Dissidenten aus über 50 autokratisch regierten Ländern nach Berlin kommen. Meine Damen und Herren, was ich damit zum Ausdruck bringen möchte, ist klar. Berlin ist die Stadt der Freiheit und Berlin hat eine enge, eine wichtige Partnerschaft mit der Stadt Istanbul. Und ich habe eine Freundschaft mit dem Bürgermeister von Istanbul, mit Ekrem. Und ich habe das schon an anderer Stelle auch mit Vertreterinnen und Vertretern, in dem Falle mit Vertretern der Türkei deutlich gemacht. Wir in Berlin werden auf unsere Partnerstadt Istanbul schauen. Wir in Berlin und auch ich als regierender Bürgermeister werden schauen darauf, wie es Ekrem İmamoğlu ergeht. Und wer die Hoffnung hat, dass Ekrem vergessen wird, dem will ich diese Hoffnung nehmen. Istanbul ist der Bürgermeister unserer Partnerstadt Istanbul. Und wir werden genau hinschauen. Wir werden immer wieder unsere Stimme erheben für seine Freilassung. Und deswegen auch von diesem Ort, direkt vor dem Roten Rathaus, der klare Satz: Solidarität mit Ekrem İmamoğlu.
Ladies and gentlemen, Berlin has a long-standing tradition of freedom. Berlin is the city of freedom. And this is why from this year on we will be hosting the so-called Berlin Freedom Week. It will take place for the first time this November. And there will be many events with which we will express our solidarity with freedom movements from across the world. This year too, the World Liberty Congress will take place in connection with the Berlin Freedom Week. Dissidents from more than 50 countries that are autocratically governed will be traveling to Berlin for this Congress. And I think what I want to say with this is very clear. Berlin is the city of freedom. Berlin is a very close and very important partner of the city of Istanbul. I do enjoy a very close friendship with the mayor of Istanbul, with Ekrem. And when I meet with partners from Turkey, I make it very clear. We in Berlin are closely observing what is going on in Istanbul. And I, as the mayor, am closely observing what is happening to Ekrem. And those who are hoping that we will forget about Ekrem, let me disappoint you. This is not going to happen. I say this here, standing in front of the Red Town Hall, we will observe very closely the developments, and we will continue to raise our voice for the release of Ekrem Imamoglu. Let me say this standing here, solidarity with Ekrem Imamoglu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Wegner mentioned Inan Güney. After 20 years of AKP rule in Beyoğlu, Inan Güney has won the election last year, but now he too is behind bars, which is why we now turn to his partner here in Berlin. Please welcome the mayor of Berlin Mitte, Stefanie Remlinger.
Yes, dear Mr. Dündar, dear Governing Mayor Kai Wegner, dear Cem, thank you for being here. Dear Senator Kisseltepe, dear ladies and gentlemen, I hope I'm doing well in English. The speech is in German, but I think it's easier this way. Yeah, we are gathered here at a special location in front of the City Hall of Berlin, as the governing mayor said, and as I can personally also attest to, for us, the city of Berlin is the city of freedom. I know that especially a lot of women, like I did myself, we came here. Not being born in Berlin, we came here because it is the city of freedom for all people from all over the world, from all religions and all people. And I'm very proud to be able to say that I'm the mayor of a district that has people from 191 nations peacefully living together and democratically living together. And I do think, this freedom, this defending of democracy and all that is part of democracy, the freedom to say publicly utter your own opinion, the freedom of the press, our governing of law, the culture of discussion, debate, the existence of different parties, political parties, free elections, and all that is connected with that. These are the rights that we all together have to defend, not only in Turkey, but today we want to think of our sister city in Istanbul, in the district of Istanbul, Beyoğlu. And yes, I am here to also think of and remind us all of Inan Güney, who has been arrested, as was being said. And not only him, over 500 people were arrested. And as far as I know, over 20 political parties have been prohibited. It is often said that these mayors are corrupt. I do think it is really their spirit of being a democratic mayor, being democratic political people who are able to stand the fact that opinions differ between different people, who are able to face the fact that the free press often writes something that me as the politicians doesn't like, because they seldom tell good stories about you, but it's not their job. It's their job to criticize us, and this criticism makes our work better. And that's why it's so important. Yeah, Berlin Mitte and Beyoğlu, I think, stand for the same kind of things. We have mosques, we have churches, we have synagogues that are close to each other. We have theaters, music, youth culture, political debates and everything. An urban space that is free, that breathes free in Beolo, just as in Berlin Mitte. And any sister city ship can only live when it's more than a contract. And so I'm sorry to have to say here today that I have not been able to meet with Inan Günay. He's not been long in office. I have not been long in office. 3 times we tried, 3 times we failed, and that's why it shocked me so much that it's impossible for the moment for me to get to know him. But I think we will continue our solidarity and our fight for his freedom, for every prisoner's freedom, until it is possible that we meet again in a free environment. I want to thank Can Dündar. I want to thank the Gorki Theatre for this occasion here today. And when I say that, and it's important for me also to say that when we stand here today, sending the signal to Istanbul that free democracy is what we all stand for. I want to say that I don't do this in a sense of superiority. We have our struggles in Germany, and we have our struggles all over the world against authoritarian regimes at the moment. And so it's in that sense of a solidarity that we struggle in Germany against right extremist parties who also dream of their authoritarian rule. And I want to say to them, especially as women are sick of all these men who think that being authoritarian is strong, I want to tell you, nothing is weaker. Nothing is more despicable. If you need to be authoritarian, you don't have the strength and the power and the courage to be a Democrat. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this opening, you will be able to visit this cell and take even a VR tour of Silivri, which is really very impressive. Before that, there will be a Q&A with Can Dündar and Cem Özdemir, former federal minister, followed by a short concert. But now we have a special message from Turkey, from ÖZGÜRÜZ, chairman of the CHP, to read his message. Please welcome Gülseren Onanç of the CHP.
Hello everyone. I am deeply honored to read the message sent by CHP leader Özgür Özel for the opening of Silivri prison of the thought installation. In front of this great building, the municipality of Berlin, the city of freedom. Honorable Mayor of Berlin, Mr. Kai, this is the letter sent from Özgür Özel. Start with Honorable Mayor of Berlin, Mr. Kai. Mayor of Mitte, Mrs. Stephanie Remlinger. Mayor of Charlotte-Wilmsdorf, Mrs. Christine Bauch. Distinguished guests, dear organizers, dear citizens of Berlin. Hannah Arendt said that the essence of freedom is not only the right to speak, but also the courage to act. Democracy stands firm when that courage is magnified by many voices and true pluralism. Today in Turkey, we are at the critical point for protecting this very democratic pluralism. The Republican People's Party, CHP, the 102-year-old founding party of the Republic of Turkey, is the backbone of our democracy, but yet sadly, the government has weaponized the judiciary because we emerged from the March 31st, 2024 local election as the leading party with broad public support. Today, CHP governs the largest cities of the country, home to 65% of Turkey's population. Our practice of social municipalism, such as child care services, youth dormitories, affordable public restaurants, and support programs for poor, have strengthened public trust in our party and in our mayors. Our achievements in social municipalism have also advanced our path to lead the government. One of the best examples of our vision is Istanbul itself, under the local governance of Mr. İmamoğlu. Since 2019, when he took the office, he has opened 127 municipal creches that have transformed the lives of women. He established 16 student dormitories to safeguard the future of young people. Through social services and inclusive governance, he has won the hearts of Istanbul citizens and indeed citizens of all across the country. Mr. İmamoğlu is also our party's candidate for the presidency in the upcoming election. His candidacy was decided in the open primaries we held on the March 23rd with the votes of 15.5 million of our citizens. On the very day he has chosen as the presidential candidate through that primary, Mr. İmamoğlu was arrested and sent to the prison. For over 6 months, he has been held in a solitary cell in Silivri prison without an indictment, under baseless accusations. But we shall not forget that it's not only Mr. İmamoğlu. Silivri and other prisons still hold the symbolic figures of Turkey's struggle for democracy. Osman Kavala, unlawfully imprisoned for years. Former HDP party co-chairs Selahattin Demirtaş and Figen Yüksekdağ. Many elected mayors removed from office despite the people's vote. Today, 17 of our elected mayors and hundreds of bureaucrats are being unjustly held in prisons. We remember each of them. Our party's representatives visit them every week and remind them that they are not alone. I would like to especially thank the journalist Can Dündar and the Gorki Theater for creating this replica of Silivri prison cell and for their remarkable effort to remembering and resisting injustice. Silivri is not only a prison, it was built to break the human will and to crush resilience. It is one of the darkest instruments of authoritarian repression. This installation makes you feel the weight of confinement, the chill of solitude, and the silence of timelessness. Yet, it can never fully capture the hope and determination that grow even in the prison cell of our friends. As someone who visits Mr. İmamoğlu every week, I can tell you this. Every morning, he wakes with renewed determination and conviction that justice is on his side. He never loses hope, never yields. He fights not for his own freedom, but for the hopes of millions. To the Mayor of Berlin, Mr. Kay, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for the solidarity shown to our presidential candidate and Mayor of Istanbul, Mr. İmamoğlu. Not long ago, Mr. İmamoğlu was honored with the Special Democracy Award, jointly presented by Eurocities and Balkan Cities Network in recognition of his struggle for democracy. The visit of Istanbul by mayors from many European cities was deeply meaningful to us. This solidarity is the clearest sign that local governments in Europe are standing up for democracy. But let us be clear, what is happening in Turkey is not a domestic issue. If member states of European Union and the European Union authorities fail to respond in a unified and forceful manner to this authoritarianism, it will spread like a virus that threatens Europe democracies. Indeed, it has already started. Therefore, I call upon the President of the European Commission and all relevant officials to use every tool and negotiation channel at their disposal to stand by Turkey's and its democratic forces. The modernization of custom union, visa liberalization, EU funds, and security dialogues must all be explicitly tied to the rule of law, free elections, and the call for those in power to return to democratic frameworks. The EU must use this mechanism to help democracy in Turkey and uphold the will of its people. I would like to conclude with the words of Bertolt Brecht, which have become the symbolic slogan of our resistance we are building in Turkey. There is no liberation alone, either all of us together or none of us. Einer kann sich da nicht retten, keiner oder alle, alles oder nicht. Kurtuluş yok tek başına, ya hep beraber ya hiçbirimiz. Thank you. Ya hep beraber
Ya hiçbirimiz
Özgür Özel
yok tek başına, ya hep beraber ya hiçbirimiz.
Özgür Özel, President of Republican People's Party.
Teşekkürler. Joining us now, someone who has consistently spoken out for human rights in Turkey and supported democratic voices there. Please welcome former Federal Minister Cem Özdemir. And with him on stage, the person who brought this cell from Silivri to Berlin, Can Dündar. Can, you spent nearly 3 months here in Berlin.
The idea came with, in fact, I've been asking German colleagues and politicians to visit Turkey, to visit Silivri and show solidarity with the prisoners there. Unfortunately, they were so busy with the other issues. And in the end, I decided to bring Silivri prison here instead of forcing them to go there. And it's easier maybe to come here and visit the prison cell. That was the idea, and today finally we have the opportunity to bring the whole thing in front of the Rathaus, and I'm very thankful to the mayor of Berlin for hosting this prison cell, and I'm grateful to his team together with Gorki team to make this dream happen, make it possible, and of course it's just a symbolic thing, you know. But when I see it in front of the Rathaus, I'm sure Mr. Mayor, imagine every morning he will come to his office and see another office of a president, a candidate, president candidate, in solitary confinement. And hopefully the Berlin visitors, tourists, and the members of the city can see the conditions where the many political prisoners have been, suffering in Turkey.
Cem, as we know, the CHP is facing more and more pressure, but Erdogan's support is lower than ever, so that's why the CHP is pushing for early elections now. Do you think free and fair elections are still possible in Turkey?
Well, I guess I'm the wrong person to answer that. I don't live in Turkey, so you should ask those who are from CHP in Turkey. But we should do everything that we put light towards what's happening in Turkey and make sure, of course, we have to work together with governments that we don't like. I don't want to talk as an opposition politician in a populist way, but we should never forget that if we want a close ally Turkey, that can only happen if there is a government that is supported by its citizens, and this government is not supported by its citizens. So if we want to have a strong Turkey, that can only happen with a democratic Turkey. And that's why I would wish that all governments, all politicians from all parties that go to Turkey mention that. So mention Ekrem İmamoğlu, but also don't forget about Osman Kavala, don't forget about Kavala, don't forget about Selahattin Demirtas and all the other prisoners. I believe that's important, and I think we could do more as Germany, we could do more as European Union, we could do more as NATO, and we're not using all our tools that are at our disposal.
What do you mean by more? What concrete steps would you recommend, or which steps do you see that have to be taken now to support?
Let me quote Can, who said once that many people who suffer in Turkey in the fight for democracy, for human rights, for a European Turkey, have the feeling that in exchange for the refugee policy in Turkey, that we're shying away from addressing human rights abuses. And I believe that should not be the case. So you guys should not pay the price for us having closed borders. And that is the impression that many people in Turkey have. And I think it's important to raise that and point that openly out. That would be a very high price. And these people should not pay that price. So therefore, I think I would wish that all politicians from all governments, and let me use this opportunity to thank Kai Wegner. He's from a different party, and I'm from a different party. But the fact that we're here together, a Christian Democrat, a Green politician, we have a Social Democrat senator here, that we're here together, maybe sends the right message to our Chancellor, to our Foreign Minister, to everybody to speak out, but also to Brussels. This is the only way we can change things in Turkey. If we speak clear and say Turkey can only have a legitimate president if that is a fair election. If it's a stolen election, you cannot be the president of this country, and we cannot treat you as anybody else.
Can, since İmamoğlu's arrest, CHP has been out on the streets twice a week, rally after rally, but Erdogan just doubles down. Some say rallies alone won't bring the change in Turkey. What do you think? What should do the opposition next?
Yeah, imagine you are living in an autocracy, and the autocrat has the ability to use every tool to govern the country. So he has the control over the judiciary, he has the control over media, over parliament, over political parties, universities, business, everything. So he's controlling the police force, the army, the intelligence, mafia, etc. So what do you have? Nothing really. I mean, only the power of the people. So they are trying to mobilize the power of people. I guess this is the right thing. And this is really, I mean, it makes sense because we are gathering our hope from this bringing people together. And this solidarity really very important at this moment. And I totally agree with Jem. I mean, you Berliners are in Germany. Of course, they are concerned about the refugee flow. And that's why the German government signed an agreement on refugees, a refugee deal with Erdogan. So hopefully Germany is safe without refugees. But this is the price. This is the price we are paying for this agreement. Because in Germany in particular, and Europe in general, turn a blind eye to the aggression of the Turkish government because of this agreement. And we are not deserving it. We are not deserving to have this price in just to keep the Europeans safe outside the Syrians, Afghans, whatever. So please remind everyone that this is the price of the refugee deal.
You said the opposition is only the power of people.
Of course, I mean the streets. Now we have the streets, nothing else.
But we also see growing pressure on the society, police violence at protests, people taken into custody for the smallest criticism. Obviously, the goal is to spread fear. Is it working, or are people holding back?
Partly it's working because, I mean, sending a tweet is a crime in this country. Even, liking a tweet is a crime. So if you visit the cell in evening or at night, you will see that it's more impressive in darkness, because the artist who did it, Shahrat from Iran, a very good friend of us, she created this kind of instead of walls, she used this special material. So when you are inside the cell at night, you can see only a kind of a mirror inside. So you can see yourself, nothing else. Because this gives you the feeling of solitary confinement. You are not allowed to see anyone else rather than yourself. But from outside, everyone can see you. Big Brother is watching you from every corner of the cell. So this is the idea, and if you visit in 2 hours the cell, you will see that someone inside, if you are inside, you cannot see outside, but from outside everyone is watching you. So this is the feeling in Turkey. Unfortunately, Big Brother is there and always watching you. If you are doing something wrong and sending a wrong message, you are in this cell.
To get a better sense of what those still imprisoned are going through now, John, you lived there for 3 months. What does a person feel locked in such a cell without knowing when or if they will be released? What did you feel then?
To be honest, I feel ashamed if I talk about my experience in Silivri after spending just 3 months there. We have someone among us who spent 30 years, 30 years in prison and just released last month. İlhan Sami Çomak is among us, and I really feel ashamed in front of him if I talk about my experiences. So of course spending a lifetime, almost a lifetime in prison. Imagine, without any concrete evidence, and you just was accused of being a member in the terrorist organization. It's so easy to be a terrorist in Turkey, to be named as a terrorist. That's why it's very difficult, to be honest. But to conclude it, the aggression is there, and of course it's high, and it's very dangerous, risky. But at the same time, there's a resistance. And people, even inside this cell, they are resisting. Especially artists, writers, poets. He wrote 13 books in prison. And many artists create extraordinary works in this prison. And after this ceremony, I will invite you to Gorki Theater, and you will see an exhibition, a museum of small things, showing how the creativity is still there even under these circumstances, the artists, the thinkers, the intellectuals are producing really very impressive products, and they're resisting against this aggression.
Thank you. A very warm applause for Cem Özdemir and Canlı, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Today is about freedom, about voices that cannot be silenced. Music has always been one of those voices, and now that voice belongs to Deniz Mahir Kartal, a gifted